What is up, everyone? Happy Friday. Mike, owner of TRC Performance Coaching, also a pretty good duathlete, former elite. I'm not currently active as an elite, but we'll get back there. The first thing I wanted to touch on, I got a comment. It doesn't bother me, but as you notice in these videos, I'll say a lot. The reason for that is, I have pretty significant anxiety disorder, so my mind works 100 thoughts at one time. So when I say it's like I'm clearing it so I can get to the next point. I'm working on that. I apologize for that. Hopefully I will stop doing that. I probably won't, but I just wanted to explain that because I know it can probably be annoying. So here we are with the speed concept, my speed concept. It's been out for a while. As you can remember, last year I did a video on the Cockpit and the frustrations that I had for it, and I know numerous people had for it based on the messages that I received. I did receive a comment of doing an update on this to Nutshell, and I still get some emails and messages about how I modified the Cockpit to fit my fit needs. Now, this is the old Cockpit. And as you can see, one of the issues that I ran into was that the bars are just too short. Could not get them long enough or high enough to fit my needs. And I see a lot of people riding this bike with their hands like down around the bars and down at the bottom and all that. The other issue at the time was that there was no BTA available, so I had to make my own. And then the other issue was that you just couldn't get enough angle that I wanted to be in that. And as you see, most folks with this Cockpit have changed it out for what I believe to be a lot of those reasons. The biggest drawback of the Cockpit is that it is so proprietary that you can't just plug and play different bars. Like, I have 51 speed shot bars that I can swap out on this. And I did get one comment about some fella, he somehow managed to fit the 51 speed shot bars in there. And if you talk to 51 speed shot, they will probably cringe about that because you're fitting a round bar into basically a rectangle. There's no way to torque that safely, and I just don't do it. So those were my biggest issues. I'm a tall rider. I'm 6'3", and I have a very aggressive time trial position, and I'll overlay what that kind of looks like here. But I just could not get my hands high enough. I didn't have enough bar to hold on to, and I was holding on the tips with my pinky, trying to get my hands up high because I come from cycling, racing, and time trialing, and that's the same position that I use in these duathlons. That's why I do so well. I'm very aerodynamic, so I can, put out less power and go the same speed someone who's more upright and having more resistance would have to do. I try to be as efficient as possible in the time trial position, and so the Cockpit just limited me on that. So I finally just got frustrated, as you saw in that previous video, and basically cut it off. Now, at the time, I have a drag to zero Cockpit with 51 speed shot pads. Those are my preferred pads. I like them a lot. I use a 45 millimeter riser. At the time, I had to shave these off to get the drag to zero Cockpit to fit. Now, if you go on their website, they have created an adapter where you don't have to do that. Aero Coach also has an adapter to plug and play their Cockpit. I don't like those bars, so I didn't even try to explore that option. So I have drag to zero carbon bars. I have drag to zero shim and a 15-degree angle wedge. And then I made my own BTA holder out of carbon plate. I had to problem solve at the time, like a lot of folks were doing, and this is what I came up with. It's worked very well. I won a race on it, and then, you know, broke my back. So, you know, that's kind of where the Cockpit went, and this is where I think the Cockpit is gonna stay. You know, I haven't had any issues with it. The setup, you know, you'll see as a, you know, classic time trialer, I'll have, you know, obviously, you know, the tape on the bars isn't what we normally like to do, but, you know, I have electrical tape around some of the seams in the cockpit and all that, to save negligible amounts of you know, watts. So, you know, it's worked well. You know, and I kind of wanted to use this video to dive into a little bit about position, what I've seen in races and as a coach, and how I think that a lot of people can improve their time trialing position in triathlon and duathlon, specifically. So a lot of times I'll see, you know, a lot of age group triathletes and duathletes with, you know, hands low on the bar, kind of upright, you know, high head, just because you're trying to maintain a comfortable position through the 56 or 112 miles that you're doing that. You know, the best advice at first that I can give, if you have not done it, is to get a triathlon bike fit. And one person I can recommend in South Florida, I just call him Dr. Johnny, and I'll put his info, his Instagram somewhere here, and then his info down in the bottom. What makes him pretty useful is that he's also, you know, a physical therapist, and to apply those principles to a bike fit, especially now for someone like me who's had back injuries and all that, but still wants to maintain an aggressive position on the bike no matter what. That's really kind of the experience that you need. Now, if you don't have a Dr. Johnny, you can find a bike fitter that specializes in triathlon bike fit. There's a variety of options with retool, full motion capture. There's all kinds of things that people can use to do this. But at the end of the day, you should just do it. Just spend the money, get into the right position, and, you know, stay in that position for 2 weeks. Give it 2 weeks after a bike fit. And if you decide, hey, this isn't working and practical on the road as it did in the lab, then you gotta reach back out and say, hey, we need to adjust this, and tell them what you're feeling. I'm feeling pulling in my high hamstring. You know, I'm not getting full extension on my right, you know, foot, ankling is not occurring, you know, things like that. And I get a lot of messages about that. I mean, I'm a coach. I've been racing for a while. I can give you a general idea, but I don't have the equipment here, nor am I certified to do a bike fit, but I can give you a general idea. So my biggest advice is bike fit, stay down. If you watch any race or have been in any race, you notice a lot of times when you're getting further into the race, or you don't feel comfortable, or you just don't feel comfortable on the bike, you're in the horns a lot. Up. Not good. Stay down in the pads. I got a comment on Instagram that, you know, you're in the pads in a neighborhood. I'm always in the pads. Very rarely will you see me up in the horns. Not efficient, waste of energy. You're losing time each time you do that, and that accumulates over that course of 56 miles. So stay down in the pads as much as possible. Learn how to corner in the pads within reason. I'll corner in the pads. I'm just very comfortable on the bike, obviously, and I'm mindful from a time trialing aspect that I don't want to keep coming up and down. It's not an efficient use of energy, and you're just gonna lose time, like I said. Keep your hands high as comfortable for you. See a lot of folks with them down at the bottom as they maintain a high position. Try to keep your hands high and try to keep your head low. Think about like an airplane wing. The more efficient you are in this position, the faster you're going to go. You're going to expend less energy, and you're going to save time. The last thing I notice a lot of is there's a lot of movement, right? As you're pedaling, there's a lot of movement. And that's also, in my opinion, a waste of energy and inefficient. When you see me or any time trialer on the bike, it's very calm and still. You see the legs moving, but you don't see a lot of upper body movement. You may see the head come up a little bit every now and again to make sure that we're not going to hit anybody or anything like that. So, stay down, high hands, head low, maintain that position for as much as possible during, your half or full Ironman or whatever race you're doing. That's the biggest advice that I can give. And then obviously, helmet plays into that. I use the Rudy Project Wing. I had it wrapped to match my suit. And, sometimes I'll wear the visor that goes with it. Sometimes I won't. It just depends. The visor sometimes bothers me. And then, sometimes I'll just use, my regular sunglasses when I'm doing that. So that's the best advice quickly that I can give you on maintaining a time trial position. If you have any questions about that, or want advice, or you think this is good and you want me to help coach you in the 70.3 in full cycling, running, and I can coach swim. Cycling is my strength. I also run pretty fast. But then all of my information will be down below for coaching, and to look at my website, and to email me if you have any questions about that. But if I'm going to coach you, we're going to work on the position, being as efficient as possible on the time trial bike, and saving that energy, because you don't want to be too aggressive. There's angles here that you don't want to go past. There's all kinds of factors that go into it, and that's why you need to get a bike fit. But if we can save time on the bike, we won't have to work as hard on the run off. I'll help you get your transition times down. It's very hands-on. I only coach a small number of triathletes, and I have a full stable of cyclists. But that's kind of my plug for that. If you want this kind of experience as I transition, to more full-time coaching, and away from competition. I think this is probably going to be my last year competing at a high level, and then maybe I'll always do it for fun. But that's kind of where I'm at. The last thing that you can do to improve how you do on the bike is performing functional bike-specific strength training. That could look like plyometric step up. I like to do Bulgarian split squats. I like to do glute bridges. I do a lot of things with bands. Side step with the band across my ankle, go back. I do a lot of core work, lower back and back, and light shoulder. So, a lot of folks shy away from strength training because they feel like they don't want to build muscle. I think that you have to do strength training to build, one, power on the bike, and then two, to have the stamina to maintain the position for 2 hours and 15 minutes or whatever that is. So it's important to do that. And I also do a lot of balance board work and Bosu ball work, and I'll crouch down in a squat position, and I'll rock back and forth to work on my balance, and to work on those smaller muscles, and just to get everything used to being in that position. And it does take time, even after a layoff, to work yourself back into that position to have the endurance to maintain it. So that's my other recommendation. As far as strength training goes, you do want to do some hypertrophic strength training, being in the rep range of 8 to 12, lighter weight, functional movements, focusing on correct form. And then you also want to put in some heavier strength training where you're doing 1 to 5 reps, focusing on form, but this all has to still be functional and applied to the bike and running. And so that's advice that I think that is important, because I don't know how many are doing functional strength training. I think they're in the gym doing strength training, but keep in mind you also want it to apply to what you're doing on the bike, swim, and run. And then, getting enough protein and nutrients to build that muscle, and recover so you can get ready for the next. And I like to also group strength on the same days that I'm doing my interval work. So Tuesdays, Thursdays, I will do strength training. I'll just make them a big strength kind of day. You're doing strength work on the bike, and then you're doing strength after the bike. And so you kind of package that all together, so you still have a quality interval session on the bike, and then after you have a strength workout to kind of improve that. Wednesday you recover, Friday you recover and adapt, etc. And then you move forward and you get stronger. You get stronger on the time trial bike. We're on this the longest, and so I think it gets the least amount of focus. I think a lot of focus is on the swim, obviously, because of the form and the work that it takes to do that efficiently. I think a lot of people focus on the run, but I don't think a lot of focus, other than riding, is given on the little things you can do to improve your time trial position. And that's where, I also have OCD, so I'm very obsessed with finding the most efficient position. I help my riders find that position as well. And I feel like I'm very good on the time trial bike. I'm probably good on all these bikes, but I'm the best on this bike, just because I just want to find the most efficient position possible. So that was the quick snapshot that was requested. If you have any more questions about the Cockpit, you can put them down below. If you have questions about coaching, you can put them down below. If you have topics you want me to discuss, you can put them down below. I got a whole bench back here of things that I've tested and tried. I have a new saddle coming. I'm not going to mention from where yet until I test it. I pay full price for all this stuff so I can give my honest opinion. Not really concerned if it rubs people the wrong way. That's just how it is. That's what this channel is about. It's about helping you not make the same mistakes that I did, or to some extent. I do test a lot of saddles. I test pads, bars, all of these things to figure out how light I can make the bike, and then how efficient I can make myself in that position. So that's it for me. It's a little longer than a nutshell video, but I wanted to group, going through the issues I had with the Cockpit, and then talk about the time trial position since we are here already. So that's it for me. Have a happy Friday. I'm the Roaming Cyclist, and I'm out.